along with our guests' CDs. You can pick those up at the end of the evening for a small price. And what else do I want to tell you? Yes, as always, this is one of our concerts that is being sponsored by the Friends of the Wellesley Free Libraries. They just had another wonderful, successful book sale this past weekend, and as always, they have a perennial book sale next to the circulation desk, so please support them when you can. This evening, we are delighted to welcome pianist Roman Rudnytsky. Roman is an American concert pianist of Ukrainian background who has performed around the world for many years. A graduate of the Julliard School in New York, he is the prize winner of 10 national and international competitions. He has played many concerts and conducted many master classes through U.S. embassies in over 35 countries, with repeat visits to many. He has been soloist with many orchestras around the world, playing with them over 45 different works for piano and orchestra. In addition to his concertizing, Mr. Rudnytsky is currently Professor Emeritus of Youngstown State University, University's Dana School of Music in Youngstown, Ohio, where he served on the piano and music faculty for 39 years. Mr. Rudnytsky served twice as artist-in-resident in Australia at the University of Melbourne Faculty of Music, once in this capacity at the University of Wollongong School of Creative Arts, and yet again in Canada at Queen's University in Kingston, Ohio, in Ontario. So let's give a warm, warm welcome to Mr. Roman Rudnytsky. Welcome.
Well, thank you and good evening, everyone. I'm very, very happy to be here today to play this concert for you. I especially enjoy performing in smaller venues like this. I mean, I've played in all kinds of venues, you know, very large concert halls, everything in between. But I think it's a special pleasure for me to be in such kind of setting because we're all sort of relatively close to each other, you know, when we have this sort of thing. And I think we experience performances in a different way than, you know, being in a large concert hall. Actually, I've played in several libraries, actually, in their series in this general area of, you could say, outer western Boston. I was at Weston Library just a few days ago. Last year, I played at the Newton Library in their series, and also in Framingham, you know, so I'm a little familiar with these libraries here, and they all have nice instruments and nice audiences there, and just a pleasure for me. I hope that you'll find today's program an interesting one, and as I always do, I'm going to say a few words about each of the pieces on the program and give you a little bit of insight into what you're listening to. First on the program, as you see, the Rhapsody in G minor by Johannes Brahms. Brahms, of course, the last of the three big B's, as the song is referred to, you know, Bach, Beethoven, Brahms. Great composer in the Beethoven tradition. In fact, he is considered to be Beethoven's greatest successor as a symphonic composer. You know, his 4 symphonies really are in that same line as Beethoven's 9 symphonies. Right from the middle of the Romantic era, which, as you know, is the name given to the historical period of classical music of the 19th century, where feeling and expression were the main thing that the composers focused on. How they manipulated sound and harmony. You know, some of them were, you know, well, many of them were innovative at this time, others stayed conservative. And also they were very individual. They could be quite different from each other. Well, Brahms came at a time when new ideas were all coming to the forefront, but he was very much a conservative at that time. And I think that there could be, for instance, you know, this question of individuality. You wouldn't have more of a contrast between someone like Brahms and his contemporary Wagner. You know, at the same time, Wagner, the great revolutionary, shaking up music and going into new directions, and Brahms, you know, remaining in the Beethoven tradition. I mean, passions, you know, were very high. You know, those who supported one or the other, those who supported Brahms thought that what Wagner was doing was terrible, you know, and the Wagnerites, you know, thought that Brahms was hopelessly old-fashioned. Well, it isn't many, but here we are. They're both great composers of that era. So Brahms' music does sound in many ways like Beethoven. He was very open about that. It was pointed out to him. He did say at one point, "Well, any fool can see that his music comes from that." His music has a kind of a symphonic sound to it, quote unquote, which means there are lots of
vertical structures, chords, very few, running passages. It's always like this, or for the most part, with melodies above that, often supported by very kind of low notes, or as a kind of a deep foundation to all of that. Makes it almost like ponderous and heavy, but when I say that, I mean that in a positive way. Just supported by by a very solid structure on that. Very sober, serious, straightforward kind of music. And this Rhapsody I'm going to start with, this is one of his shorter piano pieces. Very dramatic, right from the very beginning. You'll right away hear and see it. It's very, very much chords, in this sort of structure. And it's very, very straightforward. Very typical of the overall sound, typical of his shorter pieces. So I'm going to start with this Rhapsody in G minor, Opus 79, number 2 now, of Johannes Brahms. Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, now we come to a very lovely Beethoven sonata, which Beethoven came at a time of transition in classical music. He was one of the foundations of this then neo-romantic era, but he was still rooted in the previous era of the late 18th century, what we sometimes call the classical or the Viennese period of classical music at the time of his immediate predecessors, Mozart and Haydn. He utilized in many of his instrumental forms compositions sonata form, which was really a principal instrumental form at the time Mozart and Haydn pretty much perfected it, because that was music of contrast, and this form was really perfect for that. Contrasting themes, contrasting keys, dynamics, loud and soft, usually 3 movements, sometimes in 4. And so Mozart and Haydn had pretty much perfected it, and Beethoven expanded on it. Sometimes the movements were in different orders, he had to innovate a little bit, the proportions were larger in some cases, and so many of his instrumental works utilized that form. In a standard 3-movement sonata, you usually have a quick movement and a slow and a quick, fast, slow, fast. You have that beautiful symmetry, with the first and last movement being in the same key, the one in the middle in a different key. So you have that kind of contrast as well. In a 4-movement sonata, generally you have a quicker first movement, a slow second, a short third movement, which would be called, first called a minuet in trio, later a little faster version called a scherzo in trio, and then again a quick last movement. That was sort of the rule and pattern. But as I said, Beethoven did go into different directions, began to expand and also to alter things around. This sonata I'm going to play for you, I think the 17th of the sonata. He wrote 32 sonatas for the piano, 32 sonatas, which are the bedrock of the piano repertoire. I mean, there isn't a pianist around, who seriously studies the instrument, doesn't study something from the Beethoven sonata, some movement or some excerpt. There's so much in these, musically and technically, you can spend a lifetime. And there are pianists who have specialized and have spent lifetimes and still refining new things, so it's extremely valuable. And he wrote them through his entire life. So if you want to trace his development as a composer, you can just analyze his piano sonatas from beginning to end and see how his thinking changed. And musicologists, when they can, they look at a composer's output, they like to put nice, neat little categories that they can. So they talk about Beethoven's 3 periods of creativity, and so you can trace those in these sonatas as well. Now, all kinds of moods are found in these sonatas. You have very powerful ones, like one called the Appassionate or the Pathétique, or even the Moonlight Sonata. You have others that are gentler, and you have all things in between. This one I'm going to play for you. Say it's the 17th of the 32. It's very happy, light, and almost playful. One of the most playful sonatas, really. In 4 movements, but it's slightly innovative. It's a little bit different. You have a quick and light first movement, but you don't have a slow movement. In fact, you don't have a slow movement in this piece at all, as such. Because the second movement is a scherzo, it's very light, very bouncy, almost a perpetual motion from beginning to end. Now you have the minuet in trio in the 3rd slot, which is according to the rules, so that's the closest to a, quote, slower movement, unquote, you get, but it's not really a slow movement in the traditional sense. And then you have a light last movement, which is based on the Italian tarantella rhythm. Just a lot of fun. I mean, this is a light-hearted, playful piece. It has that kind of a mood. One of maybe 2 or 3 from his entire output that are of that mood. Lovely piece. So let's hear the Opus 31, number 3 sonata in E flat by Beethoven. Well, anyways, you can hear me.
Yes.
What? Oh, well, it maybe went on the fritz, who knows. Anyways, okay, now we go to something quite different. There was an important subdivision in the Romantic era, but also extending into the early 20th century, which was called the Nationalistic period in music. Composers from a variety of countries, other than Austria, Germany, France, and Italy, where music was international for centuries already and served as the model for everyone, began to go to their own country's musical resources for inspiration. And it happened at different points in time in different countries. But a lot of music was written and very attractive. I think we can all agree that no matter what our own ethnic background is, we enjoy music that has some sort of a folk or ethnic basis, no matter where it comes from, because it's simply attractive music, you know? And some composers were able to so identify with their country through the music that when we hear their music, we instantly see images of their country. I mentioned people like Edvard Grieg in Norway, and Elgar and Vaughan Williams in England, in Dvorak when Czech music, and others. I think some of the most attractive music has come out of Spain, and there were several composers in the early 20th century who established a definite direction, a national school in Spain. And these are composers such as Enrique Granados, Joaquin Turina, Manuel de Falla, and Isaac Albéniz, among others, utilizing various aspects of harmonies, melodies, and rhythms from Spain, and particularly in southern Spain, in Andalusia, in that area. There are quite a lot of piano works written, but I think the most significant set is a great set of 12 pieces by Isaac Albéniz, simply called Iberia, the Iberian Peninsula, Iberia, written around 1908, so shortly before he passed away. Very complicated pianistically because they're so rich harmonically, there's so much activity there. And yet the harmonies and the melodies are very clear. And they come mainly from areas of southern Spain, from Andalusia mostly. 12 of these, as I say. So very rich, full harmonies. They stem some from Debussy, from some of the late Romantic composers from that direction. Some of them are really, I mean, go almost to being unplayable. In fact, no less than the great pianist Arthur Rubinstein complained to Albéniz, saying, "Why are these so complicated? Couldn't you write these somewhat easier?" You know, he actually, my attitude is, hey, if you're going to play these, you got to do what you got to do, you know. But some of them do get to the edge a little bit. Anyways, this is one very typical piece, Rondeña, which means of the city of Ronda, which is in southern Spain. It starts out with the rhythm of the fandango that you hear at the very beginning. Then there's a more intense melody which comes in, which usually would be also sung with a guitar accompaniment and so on. And beautiful, rich harmonies. Eventually ends pretty quietly. So it's a lovely piece and very typical of just nationalistic music and of a very typical example from not only from Iberia, but what music from Spain of this type is all about. So this is Rondeña, one of the 12 pieces from Iberia by Albéniz.
Well, I can speak without my voice counts, doesn't matter.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, I think that the next the set Iberia, probably the most significant, most important piano piece from Spanish composers is this next one you're going to hear, the Fantasia Poetica of Defy. This is his largest piano work. Written in 1919, and in fact it was Arthur Rubinstein, the same Arthur Rubinstein who actually did the first performance of it. Now this is a much more vigorous piece than the one you heard. And there are elements, definitely, you know, of guitar techniques. For instance, the techniques called the punteada, which is the fast repeated notes, and what's called the rasgueado, which is the strumming. You know, you'll hear some of those effects in there. You'll also hear in the middle some little melody that sounds slightly off key, quote unquote. But that's the influence of Arabic music in Spanish music, you know. So De Falla included that as well, you know, in there. There's a very tender lyrical middle section as well. But overall, it's quite vigorous, technically very intricate, and as I said, this is his largest piano piece, and I think that among all the piano pieces by any of the Spanish composers, this I would put right next to the set Iberia. what Baetica means in the title, Fantasia Baetica. That was the old Roman name for one of the three provinces of Spain when they came and took over Spain. It included Andalusia, called Baetica. And that's the
I was wondering what
Fantasia
it is.
Baetica. Okay, now we come to the last piece here. It's a little very bouncy short piece by Julliard School, as you know, 19th century American composer, the first internationally famous American composer and pianist, actually. Came from New Orleans. He made a big splash in Europe when he went and played in his teens. Chopin heard him and publicly said he was going to become, quote, the king of pianists. Berlioz heard him, also praised him highly when he played for the Queen of Spain. She preferred his playing to that of Franz Liszt. So, I mean, he made a huge impression, over there. And he was a Southerner from New Orleans. During the Civil War, he supported the North. He played a lot of concerts in the Northern States, supported the Union, played for President Lincoln, played at Lincoln's funeral. He came at a time when American concert life was just in its infancy then, just at the very beginning. And he was one of the very first to utilize American melodies and idioms there. He later went to the West Indies. He died in Brazil in 1869. Wrote a fair number of very attractive pieces, really. And this is just so typical, really. This cute piece. It's called The Banjo. It's based on the Millie the Camptown Races. And there's a very clever imitation towards the end of the banjo itself. see, I do have some CDs available, 2 different ones over there. They're all live concert performances, which is the format I've always preferred. They come from different concerts. One of them, the one with the keys on, the black and white one, that has one of the most difficult things ever written for the piano, which you'll hardly ever hear in a concert all complete. And that's the Liszt 12 Transcendental Etudes. I mean, once in a while, some of them pianists might put 1 or 2 in the program, but to have all 12 of them, you hardly ever hear it. So that's one of them. The other one, which has that rather different sort of picture of me, carrying this electronic piano, that photo was taken on Saipan a year ago. That has a number of different works. It has Chopin's Ballade number 4, his last ballade, which is one of his greatest works. It has 4 more pieces from Iberia, 4 additional ones to the one you heard today. A big Busoni transcription of one of Bach's great organ works, the Prelude and Fugue, the Busoni transcription. Mozart's lovely variations on the theme from Duport, which is the last of his 15 sets of themes and variations that he wrote. This Hungarian Rhapsody number 4, which is seldom played, very attractive. And again, one of the most difficult things that you hardly ever hear in pianists play, and that's by the Russian composer Balakirev, called Islame Fantasy Oriental. That's on the other one, the one with that kind of colored thing. So anyone interested over there, I'll come over there, I'll sign them, they're 10 each, and so that's up to you. Just want to let you know if they're there. So anyways, thank you for coming. I had a fun playing for you, and I hope you enjoyed it.
We enjoyed it.
Ran this thing.